Why do people not like RU? I don't understand what's wrong with the RU tier. Yes, it can be kind of stally at times, but then again, that can be said about any tier. So what are your guys' opinion on RU or any other tier that you might not like? I don't know, you can leave a comment down below if you want. Anyways, this was a pretty good RU battle I had against one of my good friends, Jeremy, aka ItsSuperKook. His channel link is going to be down in the description, guys. Highly recommend you to go check him out. Anyways, looking at potential threats on his side of the field, Gallade is the only one real thing I'm going to have to watch out for, just because if he is sub bulk up, then he can basically set up on like half of my team, so I definitely have to watch out for that. Anyways, I decided to lead off with Entei as he leads off with the Whimsicott. Right off the bat, I decided to go for the extreme speed, obviously because Whimsicott has a prankster ability. He will gain a +1 priority on any non-offensive damaging moves. As he goes for the substitute, just scouting out to see what I want to do, I decide to stay and go for another one, just break the substitute as he goes for the elite seed. And because Entei has a massive HP stat, he's going to end up getting a good amount from this elite seed, and it turns out that in the long run I only did about 30% of damage to this thing. Although if I can toxic it later on in the battle, I should be able to deal with it with my Clefable. Yeah, on my third extreme speed, he decides to bring in the Dusknoir, which was a good play, obviously because I am locked into it. I decided to switch into my Clefable on the off chance that maybe he went for the Seismic Toss or went for the Toxic. I could take anything, then get on my Stealth Rocks and just switch out. But it turns out that he's actually running Substitute, so I am fearing the Focus Punch, and I decided to switch directly out into my Slowking, as he actually ends up misclicking on the Substitute again as I brought in Slowking, so I still do not know if he carries a Focus Punch or not, so I have to be careful for later on in the battle. Now because I am max defense and max HP, this Shadow Sneak is doing almost nothing, and I should be able to slack off all the damage. Although in return, my Scald is 2-hit KOing his Substitute, which means I will only be able to break it 4 times, because I do believe Scald's max PP is 16, and because Dusknoir has pressure, I will be using 2 PP as opposed to 1, so I only have 8 Scalds, and because it takes 2 to break the sub, I will only be able to break it 4 times. But luckily for me, he actually decides to switch out, I guess maybe thinking that in the long run he will end up losing the battle between Slowking and Dusknoir, and brings in the Cryogonal, which, because Cryogonal has nothing in its arsenal to be able to one-hit KO me, I decided to stay and go for the Toxic as he goes for his own Toxic. I then predict him to switch out, seeing that Cryogonal after Toxicing me really can't do anything else to me, so he does actually switch into Whimsicott. Now that I poisoned that, I can bring in my Clefable and basically take this thing on one-on-one. And I wanted to get on my Stealth Rocks because I thought that maybe he would switch out or go for like a Giga Drain, but no, he makes a good play and goes for the taunt, which means I'm going to have to wait for later on in the battle to get on my rocks. Now, knowing that he might actually switch out, I hope he doesn't switch into Gallade or Moltres, and he doesn't, and he actually switches into Crustle, which means as he gets up his rocks, I can go for the Toxic, and then the following turn go for the Elite Seed to be able to rack up even more damage on this Crustle. Now, if you're wondering why I'm not getting up my spikes, it's because obviously he has Cryogonal, and if you're wondering why I'm not switching into Hitmonchan, is because I actually carry Foresight on Hitmonchan, so even if he wants to bring in Dusknoir after going for the Foresight the turn after that, I can freely go for a Rapid Spin and spin away the hazard, so I'm really not too worried about them. As I do predict him to switch out, he actually ends up bringing in the Dusknoir. The following turn, he's unfortunately going to miss Will-O-Wisp as I go for the Elite Seed. Now, in the long run of the battle, the miss does not count towards anything at all, just because I do have Heal Bell on my Clefable. So, not wanting to take a possible Focus Punch because I still have not seen the 4th move on this Dusknoir, I decided to bring in Clefable. And yeah, that was a bit stupid of me, because if he did go for Focus Punch, I would have just got destroyed, so I don't really know why I did that. But I'm pretty sure I should be able to get on my Stealth Rocks this turn, just because I will be able to get off a bit more damage on that Cryogonal. He then brings in this giant threat, which is Gallade, and knowing he more than likely will not go for the substitute, on the off chance I do go for Seismic Toss, I decided to bring in Entei, thinking he would go for a bulk up, and because I am adamant max attack, I will still do a great amount of damage to this Gallade. It turns out that he actually is carrying the Close Combat, which means he's either Scarfed, Banded, or Swords Dance. So if he is SD, I still kind of have to be afraid of it, but not as much as I would be if he was sub bulk up. So this turn, he's going to switch into Whimsicott, which has me thinking that, okay, he is choiced, because if he wasn't, he would have stayed in, gone for a Swords Dance, then gone for a Night Slash, so I can keep that information in my mind for later on in this battle. But he brought in Whimsicott, as I said, and then I'm going to bring in Clefable, and at this point, this Whimsicott is basically dead, so yeah, this is just going to be me kind of stalling it out a bit. And yes, this is where RU can be stally. Then again, as I mentioned at the beginning, this can be said about any tier. But yeah, get rid of the Whimsicott as he brings back in the Gallade. don't want to take a close combat, and I don't want to bring in my Pharaoh Seed on the option seed. He does go for close combat, so my best switch into this Gallade is my Slowking, as he actually ends up making a good play and goes for the trick, predicting me to either bring in Pharaoh Seed or Slowking. And then he's going to make a bit of an odd play and go for the Stone Edge. So I guess he doesn't carry Night Slash, or maybe he's thinking Shadow Sneak won't do a lot of damage, so his best move to go for is Stone Edge. But after 2 Stone Edges, I don't want him possibly getting max damage, so I decided to switch directly out into my Hitmonchan. Then again, there is a chance he could miss, but of course not, because he hits 3 Stone Edges in a row, and I'm the only person that will ever happen to. But hey, it's fine. Because I'm Adamant Max Attack, I have the Iron Fist. I'm pretty positive that this Mach Punch will be able to finish him off, but he makes a good play and actually brings in the Dusknoir, predicting that. And again, I still have not seen the 4th move on this Dusknoir, and I'm going to make an even dumber play, bring in Clefable, thinking, well, hey, I can take anything, and if he had gone for Focus Punch, he would have just utterly annihilated me. Thankfully, he turns out to have Pain Split, which is even more annoying, but that means I don't have to really worry about this Dusknoir anymore because he is poisoned. I can now bring in Slowking, take Shadow Sneaks for days, and just hit this thing with Scalds, as he actually switches into Cryogonal, which I did not predict at all. Although we both did double switch, I got the better end of that double switch. As he goes for the Rapid Spin, I will be able to OHKO this thing after the Rocks damage and the little bit of Toxic damage I got off on it. As he brings in Moltres, unfortunately because he did spin the Rocks away, this thing is going to be at full HP, and I don't really need my Hitmonchan at this point, so I decided to leave it in, or switch it in, sorry, for Death Fodder. Sorry, Riley. Sorry about that. But yeah, it turns out that he is Life Orb, so I was pretty positive this Volt Switch would be able to finish off the Moltres, but of course not, and he lives on like 20%. I should have just gone for the Thunderbolt, and that was really stupid on my part, because now I'm going to be forced to switch into Clefable as Death Fodder. As he goes for the Fire Blast, he is then going to reveal to me that he has the Roost, which means this thing is going to be even more annoying to deal with, and I don't carry Toxic or Thunder Wave to be able to get off a type of status on this Moltres, which means I have no choice but to leave in Clefable for Death Fodder. But at this point, Clefable did her job. I can now bring in Slowking, and even though I am max defense and max HP and don't have any special defensive E's, I should be able to take any hit from this Moltres and in return finish it off with the Scald, as thankfully for me he didn't go for the Roost to stall this out. He then brings in his Dusknoir, and at this point this is the stalliest part of the battle, so I just sped it up by as much as I could possibly do so. As I get up 2 layers of spikes, I Leech Seed this Dusknoir, and yeah, I eventually stall it out because he has really nothing he can switch into. As he brings in the Gallade, he's going to end up living the 2 layers of spikes, and I was really face palming because I had a chance to get on my 3rd layer, but I was like, oh, that's not going to be necessary. Yeah, and he actually goes for the Stone Edge and not the close combat. I find that a little bit odd, but it really doesn't matter considering that Crustle is his last, and I still have my Rotom, which outbeats both the Gallade and Crustle. So yeah, that's going to be the 2-0 victory in my favor after he finishes off my Pharaoh Seed. I know it was a bit stally in parts, but it was actually still a very, very fun game, and I hope you guys did enjoy it. And if you did, like, comment, and subscribe as you please. Enjoy the rest of your night, enjoy the rest of your day, and I might upload again tomorrow. So, I do believe I'm out of here. Later.